Hello friends, welcome to lecture series on computer proficiency test, that is CPT for SSC CGL exam presented by W. Now we are in the second lecture where we'll be talking about errors and cutoffs. So in the first lecture we have talked about the general information, that is we have looked at various modules in the exam, that is the exam pattern, and also we went on to look about the exam process including document verification and other details, right? Now let's get into errors and cutoffs. So first, let's talk about the types of errors, especially for word processing test, that is the module 1, right? So generally, the errors are categorized as two things. One is half mistakes and full mistakes. So let's see one by one. First, full mistakes. So full mistakes are where the entire word will be counted as an error. Like suppose there's a word called this, THIS. So if it's a full mistake, then the error will be the entire word, that is 4 letters, right? So the error will be 4. That is what a full mistake means, where the entire word will be counted as an error. So now let us see in which all instances will the errors be considered as full mistakes. So the first thing is for every omission of word or figure. So in case you omit a word or if you don't type a word, that will be considered as full mistake, right? Let's take an example. Suppose there is according to Constitution of India. This is a statement which you need to type and you miss the word Constitution. So this is omission. You haven't typed the Constitution. So this will be considered as full mistake. So what will the error be? The error will be equal to the number of letters in that word. So as Constitution contains 12 letters, the error is 12 here, right? So in case you don't type any word, if you miss typing a word, that will be considered as full mistake. This is the first type of full mistake. Now let's get into the second case. So the second case says for every substitution of word or figure. So in place of one word, if you type some other word, then that will also be considered as full mistake. Suppose let's take an example. In case of according to Constitution of India, if you type according from Constitution of India, so in place of to, if you type from, then this will also be considered as full mistake under substitution of word or figure case, right? But the question is, now which word will be considered as full mistake? Is it to or from, right? Which word will be considered? That's a doubt, right? So the answer is this to, the word which you did not type, the word which actually exists in the paper will be considered as full mistake. So if you replace to as from, the error is 2 letters because you haven't typed this to. So the error will be the total number of letters in this word, to word, the initial word which you had to type but you did not type, right? This is the second case where a full mistake is considered because you have substituted a word or figure. Now let's get into third case. So the third case says for every addition of word which is not found in passage. So in case you insert an extra word which is not found in the passage, that will also be counted as a full mistake. Suppose let's take an example. So instead of according to Constitution of India, if you type according to the Constitution of India, so actually in that passage which was given to you, the word the is not there in the passage, but you have typed it. So this is also a full mistake according to the third case, right? So here the error will be simply the number of letters in the word, that is 3 letters. So here the error is 3 letters. So these are the 3 types of full mistakes which SSC will generally consider. Now few important points to note. One is you should give only single space after full stop. Many people had this doubt. You should give only single space after full stop. Even extra space will also lead to penalty. This is specifically mentioned in SSC typing instructions, okay? So after a full stop, you should give only single space. And the second thing is you will have to change a paragraph. So whenever you are going to a new paragraph should start with an enter and tab space, okay? So a new paragraph should always start with an enter plus tab space. So these are the 2 points which you have to remember. So now we have looked at the full mistakes. Let's see what are considered as half mistakes. So first, what is half mistake? So again, for example, let's take the word Constitution. So Constitution has 12 letters, right? So if it is considered as a half mistake under some other cases, then the half mistake will be half of that 12 letters, that is 6 letters. The error will be 6 letters there. So only if half of the letters will be counted as error, that is half mistake. Is it clear? So now let's see under which cases will SSC consider them as half mistakes. So the first case is spacing errors. So whenever you don't put any space or whenever you put extra space between the words, then that will be considered as a half mistake. So let's take some examples for you to understand it clearly. So instead of what is the time now, suppose this was the statement you had to type. If you write what is the time now, so between is and the, you did not have an extra space. You forgot to put a space here. So this is considered as half mistake. Space, this is spacing error, right? So this is considered as half mistake. So now what will the error be? So count the number of letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The total letters are 5. So the half mistake will be half of 5. The error is 2.5 in this case, right? Let's take one more example. So instead of what is the time now, if you add an extra space between W and H in what word, this is also a half mistake because you kept extra space. So in this case, the error will be half of 4 letters. WH80 was 4 letters initially. There you just messed up by the spacing error. So the error is half of 4 letters, that is 2. Okay, I think it's clear. So the first case of half mistake is spacing errors. Now let's get into the second case. So the second case is spelling errors. So spelling errors might occur in any way. Suppose let's take an example. So there is a word called spelling. Instead of typing spelling, you made some spelling mistakes, like instead of double L you put single L, or instead of double L you put triple L, or instead of PE you wrote EP, or instead of single P you put double P. All these are different types of spelling mistakes, right? So whatever the spelling mistake might be, so if you do such type of spelling mistakes, it will again be considered as half mistake. So as spelling contains 8 letters, so the error is half of 8 letters, that is 4. So here the error is 4, right? So this is the second case where half mistake will be considered because it's a spelling mistake, right? Now the third type of case of half mistake is wrong capitalization. So wrong capitalization means where instead of capital letter if you use small letter, or instead of small letter if you use capital letter, that is treated as half mistake under wrong capitalization error. So let's take an example. Instead of capital I, if you write small I, that will be considered as wrong capitalization, and the error will be half of 1, that is 0.5. Let's take one more example. So instead of the, if you write capital T, so instead of small letter you put a capital letter, again this will be considered as half mistake under wrong capitalization case. Okay, so here the error will be half of 3, that is 1.5. So these are the 3 types of half mistakes, and these are the 3 types of full mistakes which we have seen. Now if you compute all the errors in the entire passage, so compute error in each mistake and add them all, then you will get total error. So total error is nothing but sum of all the errors in the entire passage which you have typed is the total error. So this is the formula for total error, and we'll use this to compute percentage error, right? Now one more important thing is only the full mistakes and half mistakes given here will be treated as errors by SSC. So apart from this, SSC won't penalize you on any other mistake unless it specifically mentions in the instructions, either in exam or in the notification. Okay, and note that only the corrections you make in the system, like after you are done with the typing test, you will take a printout and submit it, right? So if you try to correct it on the paper with pen or pencil, it won't be treated as, it won't be considered by SSC. Okay, so only that thing which you have typed in the system is final, only that will be evaluated. After typing, after you take a printout, if you try to correct anything, that won't be considered. Fine. Now let's get into the next slide where we'll look at how to compute percentage error. So percentage error is pretty simple. You can directly apply percentage formula, where the formula will be total error by number of depressions into 100. So this is the formula for percentage error. So suppose if the sheet contains 2000 keys or depressions and your total error is 42, then your percentage error will simply be 42 by 2000 into 100, that is 2.1%. Okay. Now let's take one more case. If the total error is 164, then percentage error is equal to total error by number of depressions into 100, that is 164 by 2000 into 100, that is 8.2%. Okay, so this is how you compute percentage error, and percentage error will be the basis on which SSC will say whether you are qualified or not for module 1. Fine. Now let's look at cutoffs for module 1. See, you are expected to be 100% accurate in your typing, but generally mistakes are possible, right? So even SSC knows that. So an error up to a certain percentage is acceptable by SSC. So how much error is acceptable? These are the general cutoffs. So this has been the general cutoffs over the past few years. Like for unreserved category, it used to be at 5%. So up to a 5% error is acceptable if you are in general category. And if you belong to OBC or SC or ex-service men category, then the cutoffs were nearly 7%. So if you belong to ST, it has been varying between 7 to 15%. If you belong to OH, HH or VH category, then the cutoffs generally vary between 7 to 26%. Okay, so this has been the general trend of cutoffs over the past few years, but these are tentative. Actual cutoffs may vary anytime as decided by SSC. Okay, so this is about cutoffs for module 1. So before I move forward, I would like to stress on one very important point. So module 1 of CPT is really important. Why I'm saying this is because of two reasons. One, first is if you don't qualify in module 1, your module 2 and module 3 papers won't even be evaluated. You will be straightly disqualified. And secondly, if you don't qualify in CPT module 1, you won't be qualified for any of the CPT or DEST related posts. Why? Because if you're called for CPT, you won't be called for DEST. This module 1 will be the basis for which the DEST related posts will also be evaluated for. So that's why don't take module 1 very lightly. There have been students who got disqualified just because of module 1. So take it very seriously. You have come to the last stage of SSC CGL examination process, and let this module 1 not ruin your SSC CGL process completely. Okay, so now let's get into the next slide where we'll be talking about cutoffs for module 2 and 3. So as I've told you before, module 2 and 3 will not be evaluated if you don't qualify in module 1. They'll be evaluated only if you qualify in module 1. So let's look at the cutoffs. So generally the cutoffs will be calculated like this. First, they'll add both the module 2 and module 3 scores, and then if you get greater marks than the cutoff, then you are qualified. Okay, so the general trend of cutoffs were like this. For unreserved category, the cutoff marks were nearly 120. For all other categories, the cutoff marks were nearly 100. So this has been the general trend. And again, these are tentative and can vary any time as decided by SSC. Okay, so now we have talked about all the different types of errors. We have looked at total error, we have looked at percentage error, we have looked at cutoffs for module 1 and then module 2 and 3, and we have talked about the importance of module 1, and finally module 2 plus module 3 will be the final basis of cutoff qualification, right? So this is all in this errors and cutoff lecture. In the next lecture, we'll talk about the most common doubts which most of the students will have, and we'll answer them all. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for being with me in this lecture. If you really like this video, please do like it so that it tells us that you really liked our efforts, and please do share it with your friends so that your friends will also get to know about all these videos. And please do subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss on any of the future updates and any of the future videos. We are coming up with many more new videos. For you to not to miss them, please do subscribe to the channel. Fine. So thank you so much and have a nice day.